But you're right. There are so many people out there, or organizations out there that will purchase something because they fell in love with the demo or the salesperson, but they don't actually have the relationship with the people that are doing the work alongside them as if they're sister and brother.
The cornerstones of a great relationship. So you've got great relationships in your life across the personal and professional. The cornerstones of those, some of which are trust and communication and respect, like some of these basic things. And if you don't do that with your vendor community, then don't hire them or don't buy. If you're not willing as a practitioner, if you're not willing to be vulnerable and put yourself in that place, you're never going to get the results that you want. Like, I don't want to blame the vendors. They're just trying to sell, and as they should. That's the job. Sometimes they sell a little bit above or what they can't do. Happens. That happens in life. You go to Bass Pro Shop and you talk to a salesman or a salesperson that's selling a boat, they're going to do the same thing.
Hi, I'm Christy Honeycutt, your host for Inside the C-Suite, where execs get real about leadership, impact, and what truly drives high-stake decisions. Today's guest isn't here to play nice with the status quo. I'm joined by William Tincup, co-founder of Work Defined and one of the most outspoken, unfiltered voices in HR and talent. He spent over 20 years inside the system advising founders, influencing investors, and calling out what's broken, whether people want to hear it or not. So today we're going to get into what's overhyped, what's flat out wrong, and where we think leaders need to rethink fast. Hi, William. Thank you so much for joining us on Inside the C-Suite. How are you today?
I'm doing well, and thank you for having me.
So before we joined, he was telling me he was just a dude, but I consider William the godfather of all HR podcasting.
I have this bit with the word potential. When you're under 30 years old and people use that word, they're like, Christy has a lot of potential. That's a compliment. 30 plus, that's not a compliment. So when someone says like godfather, I'm like, that's a compliment. Some would see that as a compliment. It also kind of signifies how old you are or how long you've been doing something. You know what I'm saying? So I take it as a compliment.
It was meant as a compliment, trust me.
As a compliment.
And this is coming from a girl that's seen you enter an industry party from the exit just to walk through, socialize, and exit out the front. So I've got your number. I know
100%,
I know you.
100%. Was that wasn't Indeed, was it?
I don't know which one that was. It was an HR tech, though, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see me. I'm big. My friends and family know me as really, really into the Irish goodbye, and always have been. I mean, even back in my teens, when I got tired of something, I just left. Like I didn't do the walk around and the goodbyes and hugs and stuff like that. And so if you're ever at a conference with me or at a party or something like that, and I'm like, hey, man, great point. Love that. I got to use the restroom. I'll be right back.
We're not seeing you again. I know.
And then he's gone. And then people, some of them that are new to that, will then email me or text me or whatever. It's like, hey man, what happened to you? It's like, I'm in bed. I'm watching Netflix right now. I don't know what you're doing. I'm good.
So if you catch William Tincup in the wild, get your phone out, take a picture quick so you can say you saw him, because otherwise it's not happening.
Especially early at conferences, it's really nice to do kind of the happy hours because everyone's kind of got riding a high from the conference, and that's fun. It's the stuff that the dinners that are at 8, 9, 10 o'clock that I'm like, you're locked in. You're at a dinner. It's an hour and a half investment. And it's like, it all depends on who they put next to you.
I know. Yes. Or who's hosting the dinner too.
Or who's hosting the dinner. I'll leave those too. So if I find myself in those situations where it's like, I need to leave, I'll just leave. I won't tell them that I'm leaving, because then that'll be like, oh no, stay. Let's say goodbye. There's so many hours in a day and a week and all that stuff. It's like, I don't have time for that shit.
Well, I love it. Well, I know that you've spent 20 years in this industry. I'm not going to say over 20 years, but you've done every angle from HR, TA, operator, analyst, investor, co-founder of Work Defined. What are we still fundamentally getting wrong?
With what first?
With our industry.
With our industry? I think it's the classic sales and marketing hype over what practitioners need. I haven't seen a fundamental difference between 2003 with Hire Desk and now. Vendors are, generally speaking, and again, I'm not dealing with the nefarious characters, but the good folks that are out there in the vendor community and the services and on the tech side, they're optimistic. When they sell, they're selling a roadmap. They're selling a vision. They're selling what it could do for you. As a practitioner, it's not what it can do for you. It's what will it do for you, which means what will you do to ensure its success? So that gets down to, if on the tech side, it gets down to adoption and usage and things like that. Okay, it's not a just, I buy the tech and it solves all my problems. And I think that practitioners have thought that in the past, where I just buy, and I'm not going to pick on anybody, but like Oracle, Workday, SAP, etc. But they're all great. I'm going to pick them, which I'm going to go through this very arduous RFP, get procurement involved, and do all of this work. Pick them, and then life is easier. Actually, not true. That's not even the beginning of the process. Once you pick them, that's actually when the hard work starts. You've got to get your people to adopt and to innovate with their product, and not easy. And so now you and I are dealing with, and what practitioners, vendors are dealing with as well, is AI has been talked about at HR Tech or HR conferences for almost 8 years now.
Yeah.
And then we've gone through waves of AI. We've got generative AI, agentic AI. You got all kinds of things. And again, it's a new promise. It's a new year. It's a new hype cycle. It's a new promise. What practitioners have to do is be extremely selfish and think to themselves, what am I really trying to solve for here? And my advice to them when they're purchasing technology is don't fall in love with a demo.
Yep. Amen.
And this is true on the services side too. Like if you're committed to an RPO and you go all in, they become a part of your team, like your sisters and brothers, and you're trying to work out things. And yeah, people drop balls and meetings get missed and deadlines get pushed. All that's normal. That's life. And so my issue with the RPO industry for years was we would only use RPOs for the hardest to find positions, and we would expect them to have glorious results. And it's like, so if we couldn't do it internally, and we've clearly failed at that, we're going to expect your favorite RPO and then set the expectation that they can do it, and they can do it faster, cheaper, blah, 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 with a higher quality candidates, etc. And that's not true. I mean, some of that stuff plays out, but some of it doesn't. If you live in the RPO world, which you did for a long time, it's this unrealistic expectation. It's like you're drowning. You can never quite get above water. And I would talk to practitioners back then, especially TA folks, and just go, treat them like your internal people. Talk to them like your internal people. Have meetings with them like your internal people. And I think if you do that, you'll have better results.
Your sister or brother comment is so relevant, because you shouldn't pick a vendor thinking they're going to take care of all your problems. I feel like it's more relationship than anything. If you've got a good relationship, then you can work through anything and overcome the objectives, right? But you're right. There are so many people out there, or organizations out there, that will purchase something because they fell in love with the demo or the salesperson, but they don't actually have the relationship with the people that are doing the work alongside them as if they're sister and brother.
The cornerstones of a great relationship. So you've got great relationships in your life across the personal and professional. The cornerstones of those, some of which are trust and communication and respect, like some of these basic things. And if you don't do that with your vendor community, then don't hire them or don't buy. If you're not willing as a practitioner, if you're not willing to be vulnerable and put yourself in that place, you're never going to get the results that you want. Like, I don't want to blame the vendors. They're just trying to sell, and as they should. That's the gig. That's the job. Sometimes they sell a little bit above or what they can't do. That happens in life. You go to Bass Pro Shop and you talk to a salesman or a salesperson that's selling a boat, they're going to do the same thing. Even in choppy water. No, you can do this. You can do 110. Yeah, okay. All right. At a certain point, you have to understand that's a sales game. They're excited. They're optimistic, and they think it can do those things. And I think as a practitioner, you have to be vulnerable. You have to allow yourself and your team to be vulnerable. Like, hey, yeah, our process is jacked. Not sure how or why we got to this place. Well, the vendors, they're sitting on all kinds of processes, experience with process. This is true of staffing and RPO in a great way. It's like they're sitting on thousands of different ways to do process. Yeah. So if you're actually open up and say, hey, yeah, we got this. This is jacked up. We don't know how we got here. They can actually help if you allow them to help. But you got to let them in.
You got to let them in. You got to let the ego down a little bit, right?
Both sides.
I've sold into clients where the team would get really puffy, and I'm sitting here from my perspective going, I've been in your seat. I'm trying to help you. I know the struggle. Let me help you because I want you to look like a rock star. But right. You have to get out of your own way in order to do that sometimes.
One of the things I used to do is, as an exercise back on the marketing side, is, and this works really well in a one-to-one kind of setting because you're posturing. One person sitting on one side of the table, somebody else sitting on the other side of the table. One trick I used to do is I'd sit on the same side and just sit next to them and throw that kind of dynamic off. And the other was, and I've done this since then, but is I would tell them an incredibly embarrassing story about myself or something that no one else knew. I say, listen, you now have a secret. So now you know something about me that's embarrassing. I don't want other people to know about it, et cetera, et cetera. I'm telling you this because I want you to know that I can be vulnerable. I can also puff up and be an asshole. That doesn't help us get to the goal for either of us to do that. And exercises like that, maybe not that exercise, but exercises like that where you build trust and it helps. And again, both sides. That ego part that you talked about, it's both sides. Vendors have to also kind of come down a notch, especially after it's been sold. The contract's been signed. Like, that's a great time to just go, woo, okay, here's the deal. We got some things to work on. That's fine. I think the technology companies that do this the best are the ones that build a customer advisory board or several based on industry, and they bring customers into product and they let them see kind of the stuff that's coming. And those customers will tell you straight up, that's fantastic. Can we get that live next week? Or that's horrible. Don't ever do that. I mean, that's terrible. Like, we didn't need that in the 80s. We don't need that now.
Well, and I find if you ask them too about what's your experience with the product today, you're going to find out some things that maybe you're not aware of because you're not in it as closely from a user perspective.
100%.
So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like, that's your best resource.
The questions you want to ask across the board on the vendor side of customers is, why'd you buy? Mm-hmm. Why'd you continue to buy? And why'd you buy is extremely important because that was way back when. Bought because of you. I trusted you. I didn't think the technology did a lot of what you said it did. That didn't matter. But I liked you and I knew that you would fight for me. Okay. Why do you continue to buy? Is a very good question to ask your customers all the time. It's like, hey, you could do something different. It's not like this is something that can't be ripped out. Of course it can be ripped out, swapped out, or not done, or not used, or whatever. Why do you continue to send us checks? Yeah.
William, I have bumped into and introduced tons of people over to you. And after they meet with you, I hear the same thing. It's very consistent. Wow, he was just the nicest guy I've ever met every single time. And it's funny. Well, it's crazy because those that know you, right? So we're not surprised to hear that. But it's funny too, because you're so bold and you say the things that people will not say. Like, you're the guy. You'll say it. You call the BS out.
The times that I've failed in life in general is when I tried to be someone else. So advice for folks listening to your podcast, it's if you're comfortable in your own skin, and that takes a lot of work and time and effort and all that other stuff. And sometimes it's failure. But when I tried to be someone else, it was like for the right reasons. I remember going to Fidelity and they had an RPO 100 years ago. And I went up there and I had to wear a suit. And I didn't own a suit because I don't own suits. I don't own ties. I don't have dress shoes. So like I had to get a suit and I had to go sit in this room with a bunch of people in suits. And it choked off pretty much everything creative in my body. And they were looking for me to be creative. I mean, that was the idea, is like, come up here, do the bit. And it's like, I can't do this in this environment. And so, you got to learn those things about yourself. That might not be your thing, but that's my thing. Mm-hmm. And so you got to recognize the elements that create failure for yourself. And do you contribute to those? or do you avoid them? So some of that, you speak matter-of-factly, you speak very bluntly, some of it is just, I don't know another way to speak, because like I've always spoken that way since I was in my middle school. Like my grandmother called me the little professor because I would talk like an adult to adults, which got me into a lot of hot water, I would say. Got my parents in hot water because I remember them saying, you need to respect so-and-so's mother, one of your friend's mother, because she's older than you. I'm like, no, not going to happen. And I remember my dad going, no, that's the way it is. People that are older than you, you got to respect your elders. I'm like, I'll respect them if they deserve respect.
I feel like I'm talking to my son. He's just like you.
and this is the 70s, so it's really going to date me. Back then, that was not kosher. Like, that was not good. And so I got kind of a reputation of being a bad influence, which some of it was definitely justified, and some of it wasn't. It was just because I was that kid that would just say things, not to get a reaction like a shock jock, but I would just say things that I would say my truth. As if we're going to use the words of today, I would speak truth to power. I'd say my truth and let the cards fall where they may. If someone doesn't like it, well, I've gotten in trouble for this too. Once I say it, I can't control how you process it. That's a you thing. You have to come to grips with how you process it. Now, I'm going to say it. You can't stop that, especially when people ask me for advice. And you know this because you've been on calls like this where people ask me for advice. I'm like, how do you like your advice? I'm a chameleon. I can give you your advice in a couple different ways, but I'm still going to be true to myself. I'll give it, and it's always, it comes back, give it to me straight. Give it to me unvarnished. Just be as blunt as you can. So, it's a couple months ago, so it's a little bit dated. I had a guy that reached out and built a recruiting software. He goes through his whole bit, does his demo, tells the origin story, goes through the whole thing. And, I'm like nodding and yeah, okay, got it. Totally understand what that is. Okay. He gets to the end. He goes, okay, listen, you're one of these people that I've been told I got to talk to, blah, 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 blah. And he said, I really want your advice. We're at a pivotal time in our history and I really want your advice. I'm like, okay, how do you want your advice? Because did the bit. And he goes, give it to me straight, man. I can handle it. I said, okay, cool. Delete everything you've done.
Wow.
Because you've built a great product for 2009. So you spent 6 months building something. You'll spend 4 years trying to push the boulder up the hill, but I'm going to try to save you that time. Don't take this to market. It'll fail. It'll fail miraculously and fabulously, but it'll fail because that technology has already been built and it's already been taken care of. It's already part of other suites and stuff like that. Like, it's not needed. Now, you might not take my advice. Totally cool. Because I'm going to go to lunch after this call. So, I don't care. But I'm just trying to tell you, if you'd have done the research up front with talent acquisition, you would have found this out and you would have built a different product that would have been fantastic. And we could have a much different conversation. And I don't think it's anybody's goal to make a grown man cry, but it wasn't pretty.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was not pretty because it's like telling somebody their baby's ugly. Right.
I always tell people that the baby has cute shoes. If the baby's ugly, that's code for me. What a cute outfit.
This is probably pre-COVID. It was your baby's really alert. So you didn't comment on, my God, looks like the fucking, I don't know what happened. Both of y'all are really attractive people. What?
Maybe they'll grow into it.
100%.
They'll grow into their beauty.
100%. And with Henry and Van, Henry had markings and all kinds of stuff going on. When Van popped out, he looked like the Gerber baby, from the jump. It's like two different kids, same DNA. All right, there you go. That's how it happens. But yeah, if you find yourself giving people feedback, there's lots of ways. Len Lorano, who's in our industry as an analyst, she's had several different positions in our industry for 20 years or so. She is one of the best at giving feedback, but not destroying the person in the process or their technology.
That is a gift.
It's a gift. It's a gift that I do not possess. But she does, and I've heard from people that I did a demo. She told me things we need to work on. It's never soul crushing. But she's direct. She gets her point across. But she does it in a nice way, and I don't have that gear.
You have that gear more than you think. We've known each other for a long time, but where I've really enjoyed and where you've been so impactful on me is you're just encouraging. You're that person that leans in and says, what is it that's keeping you up at night? That's the thing. That's the thing. It's what you told me when I made my transition, when I took over this beautiful show that was yours and Ryan's. Thank you very much. For those of you that don't know, this wonderful show used to belong to this gentleman.
It's better. It's better now. No, seriously, it's so much better. 2 to 10 type better. So when we started it out, it was the idea of like, we'd like to talk to executives, leaders, CEOs, etc., about their origin story. And that template plays out after about 20 shows. And well, of course, we didn't know that, knuckleheads, but in the time in which you've taken it over, you've taken that template, threw that out, and you have your own kind of way of talking to people, which is so much more engaging and so much better. So,
well, that means a lot coming from you. But the work defined that you guys have built, and this is the thing that I'm most proud of both you and Ryan Leary, just knowing you both for many years, is you've created an amazing hub for some people that have really great hearts. I know you've got you probably won't say you've got your favorites, but you've got your favorites. You have to have your favorites on the show.
No,
but talk to us about that, because you've built a little media monster.
Yeah, it's interesting because we didn't intend to. So we left Recruiting Daily with the idea of like, hey, we both like podcasts. Let's do some podcasts and we'll just do this bit. We'll sell advertising. Basically, we'll do the same stuff we did at Recruiting Daily in the sense of marketing services. So we'll help people with email campaigns and webinars and all that type of stuff. And it's one of those things, probably 3 or 4 months into it, we had our first podcast that was outside that said, we'd like to join your network. At the time, we didn't really know what a podcast network was. I mean, really. And so we're like, yeah, cool, let's do it. And then from there, that was February 15th of 24. We've just grown because it's hard. It's hard to be an independent podcaster. It's hard to get to 100 shows or 100 episodes. And it's nice to be able to bounce ideas off of a group of people. And so we have a Slack community, which is fun. But really, it's all the hosts can reach out to each other and go, hey, listen, my guest for Thursday dropped out. Do you have time? It's those collaborations, marketing collaborations and other types of collaborations that we're proud of. I want to get to a place where we have, Ryan hates hearing this, so when he watches this, he will cringe. I want to get to 500 shows. I want to be able to get to a place where it's just a default. You're looking for a work-related podcast, and maybe you don't know what that is. And so if you're into mindfulness, there's 6 shows. If you're into compensation, there's 8 shows, or payroll, whatever. Leadership, coaching, stuff that's candidate focused, candidates that's recruiting focused. Like, we want to be able to kind of the whole hub of what is work, and that definition is changing daily. What is work? It's what we want. There's shows out there, and they're independent, and some of them are sitting on 100 and 200, 300 episodes. They've just been out there in the forest doing their bit. And it's nice to bring them in and just introduce them to all these other wonderful people and go, hey, listen, you can be in the Slack community or not. Like, it's not mandatory. You can collaborate with others or not. But the show promos running on each person's show helps them get some exposure to markets and audiences that they wouldn't have. We're kind of, I would say I'm most proud of shows that I didn't know. Like, people that just have crazy ideas. Up Top AI comes to mind as a wonderful one, where I just get this random email from Valentine, and he just says, hey, got an idea for a show. I have a Pop Top VW. I turned it into a podcast studio, and I want to do a TV show. Okay. And it's 15 minutes. So it's round 1 with 3 guests. Boom. Somebody gets kicked off. Round 2, 2 questions. Then final question, 1 person wins, show's over.
I love it.
And it's like, after he went through the idea, I'm like, how fast can we get you set up? Like, because that's just a fun idea. Will it work? Will it take off? Will it be viral? I don't know or care, but it's just a cool idea. I like those types of. Andrew Godomsky does a show where he asks his guests the same, I think it's 8 or 10 questions. And that's the bit. Here's the question. And their answer is different than the other ones that he has. You can go and listen to his show and different guests giving different answers. And like Carmen Hudson, who had the idea, if you don't know Carmen, she's been in the talent acquisition industry forever. And she reads all the books about recruiting. in our space, both people that we know and people that we don't. And so she reads all the books. And so she reads them and then interviews the authors. And it's called the Recruiting Book Club. So like if you're into TA, throwing that thing on the Spotify when you're doing your jogs or you're doing whatever, you're listening basically to the crib notes of what they were trying to convey in the book. So maybe you're not a big reader. It's a great way to kind of get to the point. What I was really trying to convey in the book, those 200 pages, is this bit. So like, I don't really have favorites. I like shows that they, with reckless abandon, they go after their audience and they're innovating, like Meg and Amy's show. They're always doing something new. Yeah. They're always trying stuff, which I think is really smart of a young podcast. Once you're 300 episodes in, you kind of knew who you are. You're Seinfeld or your Friends or your Sex and the City. You know who you are. You don't really need to do a lot of crazy stuff. Your audience, might bail on you. But it's fun. The whole process has been fun. Now, it's been 2 years, but the whole process has been fun because we've learned at every turn, we learned something new.
So let me ask you this, because you've got such a niche experience with this. What makes somebody credible in this space? Because from my knowledge, you are the largest HR and TA network out there. I love being a part of it. I think there's lots of benefits to it. It always feels like a family reunion when you go to any conference because half the people are from our network.
We get emails after the shows when people go and like, can you get us a t-shirt or something, like a hat, a keychain, just something, a koozie or a frisbee or something? I think credibility is in the eye of the beholder. And so I think if you're honest with where you are in your journey and what you're trying to learn, because as a host, you're learning just like the audience is learning. No one's coming from a position of all-knowing type of position. No one's doing it. And if they are, they're assholes. So I think the thing is like when Drive-Through HR, when Brian and I kind of rebooted Drive-Through HR, I was coming from marketing into HR and recruiting. And so I was very honest about that transition and what I wanted to learn. And so I would talk to guests and say, listen, I'm going to ask some dumb questions. So let's just start with, these are going to be some eighth grade questions. And that's okay. I'm trying to learn. And I think the audience, again, we talked about vulnerability. The audience loves to hear your journey and what you're trying to learn just as much. And the guest, having great guests, and getting guests to be vulnerable and tell stories and stuff like that. I think there's an art to that. There's also science to it. I don't work well in a really structured environment. So like when people send me questions, and I'm sure you have this as well, especially it's PR people. I
got your answers. So guys, I have a form that I send. It's a very simple form. Like, what are 3 things you're really passionate about? And by the way, all of Williams was history.
Yes. I'm learning, maybe 3 years, I've been learning Middle Eastern history. So going all the way back and learning, and there's so many things that not only did I not know, I didn't even know that I didn't know. Like it was so crazy. So I'm still learning stuff about that area. It just wasn't taught. Like in Texas, I think 6th and 7th grade of Texas history. You learn Texas history before you learn American history. If you're in a public school in Texas, kind of is what it is. But we definitely didn't learn Middle Eastern history. And so it was a gap. And so, yeah, I love history like that.
So I think context is really important for you based on what I know about you. So what is it that you think is important why is history so important to you?
Well, I like to learn what people have tried and failed at before. And the cliche of if you don't know history, you're doomed to follow it in both good and bad ways, but mostly the bad. Like you take a look at fascism, there's nothing new about fascism. Mm-hmm. Fascism has been around forever. It's just taken on different forms. Dictatorship and things like that, military conquest and war. None of these are new concepts. They've been around since the history of human beings. So I like learning the nuanced stuff. If you never study it, shocking, you're not going to know it. And that's what when I taught at the University of Arizona, that was American Indian Studies. It was a kind of a 100 level course. It was a core class. And it was just great because there's so many things that people just don't understand about that part of our history, both historical, but also in the current, like what's actually going on in Native American country today. They have no idea. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of nice to just turn on the light bulb and go, hey, here's something you might not know. And so I love history because it It's probably why the reason why I did an art history degree is I wanted to learn art as an artist, as a painter, but I also wanted to learn the history of where did this stuff come from? Like I know where my stuff comes from because it comes in my head, and then I got to get it out onto a canvas. Yeah, I understand that part, but where did it come from before that? And once you learn that, you go all the way back to cave paintings and people signing their art with their hands, put their own and they blow pigment into their hands. And that's how they sign their work. And so you see Picasso's signature or Matisse or Van Gogh or something like that. You see them sign their paintings and you see that. And it's like, yeah, that's not new. Artists have been signing their paintings for a long time, thousands of years. So yeah, I have a really eclectic and weird taste because I like physics. I like science. I like anything that has to do with the cosmos. I love all of those types of things. So documentaries about black holes, I'm down for that.
What's your thing? Are you following the NASA moon launch?
Not really. I'll be interested in the photos that come back of the dark side of the moon because we don't have good stuff there. The James Webb Telescope, the photos of what's out there is amazing. And just there's so much that we don't know. And I know that that's perplexing for a lot of people, that you got to get comfortable with what you know, what you don't know. And when it deals with space, there's only a little bit of what we know.
Yeah, lots of uncertainty there.
We don't even know about Mars.
We don't even know about half the stuff going on Earth.
Well, to your point,
real.
The planet's 60 to 70% water, deep water. Mm-hmm. We don't know what's down there.
Oh, I'm terrified of what's down there.
So I'm excited about it because, I don't know what's down there, but it would be cool to find out. It'd be cool to find out both the animals and other things that are down there. It'd just be cool to kind of find out, okay, what's down there? So I like that stuff, but it bores the tears out of my wife. So she likes, like a lot of women in her age group, she loves murder mysteries.
Okay, I could fall asleep to them. I don't know what that's really scary. I don't know what it is.
I'll walk in and she's watching in this episode of Snapped. I'm like, dude, seriously, this show is nothing about wives killing their husbands. like it's not as much of a TV show as kind of a cookbook on how to get away with it.
Blink twice if you need help, if you need us to send help.
No, my wife wanted to kill me. She had plenty of opportunities.
Well, we know she's kept you alive. So you learned a really good lesson recently. Hopefully you learned that you're loved by your community, but that you had a situation come up. Will you want to share a little bit about that and how you guys handled it?
Sure. This is early February. Family gets the flu. And we all had flu shots, but it was the other strain. Okay. Happens. So we all got the flu, the whole entire house. And they got better. I did. I had fever, dehydration, and then I got pneumonia. My sugar spiked, oxygen levels were low. Like it was a kind of a Hurricane Katrina type of thing where it wasn't just one thing. It was several things that happened at once. And so I was in the hospital for, I think it's 22 days. Yeah. And I was at a great hospital, great care, great doctors, great nurses, great care. I can't even complain about the food. It was a great experience, but 22 days in the hospital is still 22 days in the hospital. And what I learned, and I've learned this before, but it is worth noting for everyone, is you get the service of what your health advocate demands. So you have to have a health advocate. Anybody that goes to the hospital by themselves or is going through some type of health trauma by themselves, we got to reach out. And families got to reach out. Somebody's got to reach out, because guiding them through the process and understanding, hey, can we run this test? That's a question that if you don't ask that question, they're not going to run that test. Like they're going to it's a business, and people like to act like it's not, but it's a business. Why would I do something extra if you don't ask me to do something extra? Outside of, I know I need to do a CAT scan or an MRI or what EKG, whatever. But like if you don't ask, and when you're sick, like I was, I didn't have the ability to ask questions. Yeah. I mean, with my low oxygen levels, I had brain fog. So I didn't even have the capabilities of forming intelligent questions, much less asking them. And so my wife, she takes notes. She writes down some questions. She's schedules stuff. She calls the pharmacy. Like she's on top of it. And she was on top of the staff in a nice way.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but basically, okay, I understand what you said about this and this, but I don't understand that. Could you have a doctor come by and explain that to us? Yeah, absolutely. So it's that patient advocacy, health advocacy. It's one of those things, if you get sick, You'd want your significant other to step in and ask those questions. You don't have to be an expert. In fact, it's probably best if you're not an expert, because you need to ask questions that are a bit rudimentary, like, why is her fever going up and down? Why can't we get that under control? Well, here's why. That both answers the question for you, but also answers the question for the patient.
Yeah.
So it puts people at ease. But yeah, I've been through health scares before, so this wasn't new. It wasn't my first time at a hospital. I didn't have surgery, and I've had a lot of surgeries. So like even surgeries don't freak me out. But like my father, who lived to 89, he never went to the hospital. Outside of being born in a hospital, he never went to the hospital, ever. Died at home. So different experiences with hospitals.
Different things probably in our food and our air and everything nowadays, right? But
microplastics.
Yes. I mean, it's so scary. I don't know what to eat. The kids are always like, don't eat that. Don't use this. I'm like, well, what do we use?
This happened in our lifetime. This happened with saccharin and sweet and low, where the scare of that creates cancer. That causes cancer to, actually, it's fine. It's one of those deals. They got cigarettes right. Okay, fair enough. They do create, that's well documented. They do create cancer, lung cancer in particular. But it's one of those things with food. Having an all meat diet like an Atkins diet or not. Okay, well, if you're having meat, you're eating a lot of antibiotics because everything, whether it's chicken or beef or whatever, they've been shot with a lot of antibiotics, which makes your immune system not as tolerable. You have to have a stronger dose of antibiotics than a normal person. So there's no right or wrong. I do like the people that can hold to the strategy of eating their way around the grocery store.
Oh, stay on the outside lanes.
Stay on the outside.
Yeah, I do that.
And never go inside because there's nothing
processed.
Good. Nothing good is inside. Some things shouldn't last for a year, right? So they start on one side, they start in produce, and they go all the way around the edges. They check out and they're gone. I don't do that. I'm doing it now more because one of the things with my sugars that spiked, I was up to an A1C of 11, which is really high. So I'm dealing with kind of pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes. So I'm taking insulin. I mean, I'm watching my calorie count and all that type of stuff. But when you're watching your sugar spike, you start shaking and like it, you can tell. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those deals. But we said this pre-show, everyone that's listening to this podcast or that will listen to this podcast is going through something. No one goes through life unscathed. They're going through a messy divorce. They're going through, I just learned someone that I've known for a long time, that one of her kids passed away. And it was a babysitter that she found on Facebook Marketplace.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know because that's not something someone's going to post on LinkedIn or Instagram or something like that. It's just everyone's going quietly, suffering in some way. And so it takes a lot of empathy and also a lot of just asking people about what they're going through and trying to help.
And don't assume that someone's having a bad day because they're a dick, right? Like we have no idea what's going on in their life and just have a little bit of grace. I had a gentleman a couple of weeks ago holler at me and said, "Why did you pull out? Didn't you see that I was coming? I was hauling ass." And I'm sitting there looking at him going, I turned left. He was way down the road and there was a stop sign. Like there wasn't anything he was going to have to stop. Right. So I rolled down the window and I let him vent for a minute. And I go, "Sir, I apologize. I asked for grace." Because I'm sitting there going, I'm pretty sure if there's a cop, you would be in trouble. But he stopped in his tracks. He stopped yelling at me in his tracks because I was like, "I'm so sorry. I asked for grace. I apologize." And he did not know what to physically say to me after that. And so then he just kind of drove off and I thought, I'm not like ruffled about it. And he obviously is coming down.
This is from Louisiana Sherm, actually, in Baton Rouge. And a guy comes up behind me, left signal blinking his light, honking. I'm doing 90. Like, okay. Like how much faster do you want to go? So I pull over and he goes on and, it's probably 10 exits up or whatever. I pull in, get gas. He's also getting gas and he comes over. I'm thinking, okay, all right. So here we go. It's going to be one of those things. It's going to be one of those days. And he goes, "I need to apologize to you." Because I had a Mini Cooper. I had a black Mini Cooper at the time. So especially in Louisiana, it was probably well recognized or easy recognized car. He goes, "I need to apologize to you. When I was speeding, I'd gotten a call from my wife that she was going into labor."
Wow.
And then 10 minutes later, I got another call back. She's like, "It's not water hadn't broken. It was her first baby. And he goes, I said, dude, I got 2 kids. We're good. I mean, first of all, I understand going 120. Fair enough. I would have caught up with you. I would have gotten behind you and drafted behind you, but you were going so fast I couldn't. But it was just one of those days to your point, you don't know what people are going through. And you might not ever know what people are going through. Because some of it could be the grief of something, but some of it could just be embarrassment. Just something as simple as I'm embarrassed because of ... and they'll just never tell you.
You and I have a former colleague that posted something recently about her son and was very open about it. And I messaged back and said, wow, I really wish that we had talked to each other years ago because we both are living in the same situation and we could have been help for one another. And as I get older, it just shocks me to find out all of these things I have in common that I've struggled with people that I adore and respect, that we could have been a support for one another. So if you didn't learn anything, if nobody learned anything from the conversation that William and I've had, please, you do not know, you cannot see what people are going through. Have a little bit of grace. And I'm glad you didn't get a gun pulled on you.
I grew up fighting just because it's Texas. We didn't have anything to do. So I thought it'd be more of that, but I'm also concealed carry. If it's going to get to that level, then
get the first shot.
I at least have 5 bullets in my revolver.
So, William, this has been a fun conversation, and you are such an onion. There's so much more to you. I wish we could have gotten through. But as we end the interview, is there anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to share?
I think the thing that we touched on a bit is don't be afraid to ask questions of your peers. That's the thing is if you ever walk into somebody and they act like they know it all, you automatically know that they don't know it all. So it's okay. It's okay to say, could y'all go through that again? Please help me out because I don't think I got it. It's okay. That's not a sign of weakness. And I think we're kind of knocking some of the rust off of previous generations where, especially for men, it was a sign of weakness to ask for help or show vulnerability. And I think some of the younger generations, they don't suffer that. They might suffer some other things, but they don't suffer that. They don't suffer that. So that's actually good. But I think asking your peers and talking to your peer group about things, just go, hey, I'm going to implement a new payroll system. I don't even know where to start. I've never done this.
Yeah. And it's okay. Like, be vulnerable. And you've taught me this, like, you're going to find more support outside of your organization, most likely with somebody sitting in the same role. It doesn't mean you're competing with them.
Oh,
you guys are going through the same things. Just if you can be vulnerable enough to reach out, just the way that you can elevate so much faster.
Oh, yeah.
Hands down.
You know what? Most people, especially they've been through that experience of payroll rollout, they've been through some of the nasty stuff. They're like, oh my God, I didn't know we had to do this. We didn't do that. They can help you. And it's not a slant against them or their experience, not a slant against the vendor or their experience. It's just, there's so many things that can happen. And it's just, if you can just learn some of those things to avoid, fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically AI for communication with your peers, right? Like, just hyper fast.
Yeah.
Well, William, thank you so much again. And for those of you that don't know William or Work Defined, hopefully you do, go check it out because this show is great, but there's so many beautiful shows out there with incredible hosts. And I know that you won't regret it. Until next time.
Thanks,
ciao.
Christy.
Thanks, William.